opportunities of others, and they turn to drugs for escape. And so this is unfair to people of color. You
Because
know
that's
that
a absolutely
you
because the
know that's coming.
incidence, right? The incidence of combining drug use numbers and public assistance numbers, um, it's going to go to urban and it's going to go to that community.
Yeah, you know what I think again. I mean, I love doing the show, but we touched on this when we said that we need to have potential candidates, frankly, on both sides of the aisle. Call us, and we'll tell them whether or not they should run. I think we're missing the boat in terms of the awesome political consultants we could be.
You make a very interesting point.
Hmm. See, again, just another venture of Miller Housing Enterprises.
All right, so Scott Walker, I think awesome. The left's going to go nuts about it.
Dude, I love Scott Walker, by the way.
I love
My
that guy.
assuming, well, no, I don't even want to say that out loud. If the Republicans don't win the White House in 2016, because it's too early. Well, no. Scott Walker now. I still got Trey Gowdy in my mind down the road, but I've told you before. If I had to pick a guy to be, I think to be the nominee, because he could be one of those like coming out of a governor's mansion, not really necessarily widely known across the country, except for the battle that he got in and won twice with public unions in Wisconsin. I think this guy just might be able to pull it off. I love Scott Walker.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Oh, you know what, Mike? There's one. I'm going through the list of stuff that you sent me. Victoria's article earlier. This blew my mind. In fact, I had it open. Somehow I closed it as the story to lead off with. The Obamacare website disaster company gets 2 new IRS contracts.
I saw that, man. Bust that out.
Okay, so here's the deal. This is up on IJ Review. It's only been up a short bit. Almost nobody has read it, which is amazing to me. Company acts for Obamacare website disaster, gets rewarded with 2 new cushy IRS contracts. So here's the deal. It's a company called CGI. They were the ones that were fired because they're the ones that put together the healthcare.gov website.
Right.
They were going to be doing now the IRS has hired them to keep track of the Affordable Care Act subsidies and taxes.
Okay, so let's stop for just a second. Can you not see? Of course, Seth Meyers doesn't do Weekend Update on SNL anymore. Can you not see them, anyone who's doing it now or whatever, actually doing that and people laughing?
Oh yeah, and imagine this. Imagine you're one of the executives at that particular company. You were involved in the healthcare thing. You're
Yeah.
the guy in charge of whatever. And so we're like, okay, we got to retool our business. The press we had was awful. Somebody says, hey, you know what we should do? We should apply for this IRS thing. And everybody else around the table says, okay, the last place we're going to get a federal contract signed is the last place we're going to get a contract signed is with the federal government. But here's what the deal is.
Okay, but wait. So the reaction is to the guy who just said that, dude, wait a minute. Okay, listen, the IRS is as screwed up as much as we have, right? The people hate us, they hate them. That just might be that, dude. That just might work. See, that's what.
Well, here is my suspicion of how it happened. Right?
Mm-hmm.
You're standing at the coffee machine at CGI's headquarters.
Right.
And I walk up to you and said, hey, by the way, last night, man, it was a really good thing I went to Georgetown to that cocktail party because I was meeting with the undersecretary to the assistant at the IRS. They've got this new contract. And obviously, it's been really good that I've been having everybody out to the golf course over the last few months. And also, my daughter is dating one of the guys that is a staffer for the Department of Treasury. And I've promised them 2 weeks at the Vineyard this summer.
Mm-hmm.
And they smiled and said, that contract we've got up, why don't you go ahead and submit a proposal to us, dude? So we're in.
See, you might be right.
I think that's the way all of this kind of stuff happens, man.
Water cooler, dude.
I think that it's insider dealing. I think that a bunch of guys, the right palms, the right relationships have been greased. Um, and
I,
and
Go ahead.
and yeah, now I did promise him 2 weeks at our timeshare down on Grand Cayman. But in return for that, uh, our application to handle this contract goes to the top of the stack.
Hmm.
Good thing we hired the right lobbyists, we belong to the right golf clubs, and we show up to the right parties. I mean, I think that's the way this kind of business is done.
There's no question that that's the Beltway, and I think just to kind of digress a bit, and then let's get back to this. But that's a way Washington works anyway. It's I mean, Boehner, has this history of coming out and puffing out his chest and saying all kinds of stuff about Obama, going all Barney Fife, at the podium and the drama and the whole bit. And then what happens at the end of the day? He folds up like a cheap tent. He always have. So that they talk. I mean, the parties talk about that. It's just like I told you. Back in the financial planning days, these attorneys, I would have two clients getting divorced, and they have conversations with their respective lawyers with them there, and they would, like acting like Boehner. But then if I got the two attorneys on the phone without their clients, they would be entirely different. It would be all about, well, my client's an asshole anyway, so yeah, why don't we just go ahead and do this? You're right, man. I think that's how stuff works, period.
Right. Well, see, the difference is, and that it works that way in the business world, which is why there are,
Right.
why companies sponsor golf tournaments, and that's why there's corporate memberships at country clubs and all of that. But all of that, I mean, there's a cronyistic aspect of that.
Sure.
But even so, if my company hires your company to do our technology stuff, and I lose, I'm trying to compete in the marketplace. So, as much as you want access to my golf club and I want access to your contract, ultimately the competition of the marketplace is going to render that decision workable or not.
Mm-hmm.
And I might end up saying, hey, look, man, as much as I want to spend 3 weeks playing, skiing at your condo in Deer Valley, God, you guys totally screwed up the last time, and I'd love to give you the contract, man, but I got to give it to somebody else because not only does he have a ski in, ski out at Vail, they're going to do a better job for me.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas the government does not have that sort of competitive pressure applied to it.
No, the only thing, it makes no difference from which side of the aisle you come, lobbyists, campaign contributions, and all of the above ends up ruling the day in many cases because they're not spending their own money. It's not corporate money where if they make a boneheaded decision, they anywhere from lower earnings to slash the price of the value of their stock to go bankrupt. Government doesn't have to worry about that.
No, not at all. And it's not like, well, I was doing my taxes through the IRS, but they totally screwed up. So I'm going to be doing my taxes through the SRU, like you can in business. You and I establish a cronyistic relationship in business. If our product sucks, we suffer. The federal government doesn't have that. I mean, so relationships and insider dealing, and I mean, that's the rule of human existence. It's that the added layer of competition weeds out the ineffective producers. Whereas in the government, it's, investigative reporters and people suing to uncover this kind of thing. Otherwise, nobody would know about it because there's no competition, there's no alternative.
No, not only that, but they don't even have to be right. When they spend billions. I mean, look at Obama. This green energy thing in Cylinder or whatever. It's almost like the government is like weathermen, right? how many times you're listening to the weather and they're doing the not necessarily next day, but doing like the for the rest of the week predictions and they're just completely wrong. They don't get fired because they're wrong about the weather. It's almost like the government is the same thing because it's about politics and the whole bit. So yeah, somebody famously said we have the worst political system in the world except for all of the rest. But yeah, as much as I love politics,
Winston Churchill.
That's exactly right, and
it's a Winston Churchill quote.
I said exactly right as if I knew what, but no, when you said that, I remembered. But as much as you and I are political junkies, there's a lot about politics that I just disdain.
Yeah. Yeah, what is Winston Churchill's famous quote about that? Democracy is the worst form of government, except for all those other forms that have been tried.
He was like witty. We talked. I think maybe I said this offline or maybe online, but there's some promo on VLR where a guy rips off one of his quotes, but he was famous for his dislike and return dislike with Lady Astor, and of course the one that we were talking about. She said, "Winston, if you were my husband, I'd poison your tea, and Madam, if you were my wife, I'd drink it." But there was another one where where he said they're at some event, and she says, "Winston, you're drunk," and he says something to the effect of, "Yes, Madam, I am, but tomorrow morning I'll wake up sober and you'll still wake up ugly."
Right.
I love that stuff.
Totally funny. I saw there was a book that somebody did somewhere. It was something like famous quotes from famous people that they actually didn't say. And Churchill is one of those guys that tons of stuff is attributed to him that it's more of like urban myth.
So do you think what I just said is? I don't know.
I was just going to say, no, those particular of Lady Astor, those were not, those actually were him.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah, but you're right. There's a lot. Dude, I haven't seen something like that for a long time. That's, yeah, that's interesting. I love stuff like that, don't you?
Oh my gosh, totally love it. Absolutely.
There's even like Bible stuff like that, by the way. But anyway, we won't.
Oh yeah, like God helps those who helps themselves.
That's the first one that comes to mind. And then the one that is often misquoted is money is the root of all evil.
Right.
The love of money is the root of all evil. Of course, yeah. All right, we're under 2 minutes.
Me personally, I don't love money. I just love the things that money can buy.
See, there we go. I'm down with you on that.
Speaking of that, of things that money can buy, how's your Mac?
It's awesome. I'm loving every second of it. I'm getting more and more comfortable with it. And you can't do an I told you so because you knew there would be a learning curve, right?
Oh, I knew there would be a learning curve. Absolutely.
And you know what else I love about Apple stuff? I mean, from the iPhone to the iPad to even on the MacBook Pro, instead of having that black generic battery thing, it's got that cool little square white thing. The attention to detail these people pay is incredible.
The attention to detail is awesome. All right, Michael, we are out. So that is 2 hours of, in Rush Limbaugh's term, broadcast excellence. Folks, thanks for listening. We will have up on the website, therightmics.us, a little bit later today, we will have the links and topics to everything that we're talking about. And subscribe to that as well. Mike, anything for you to say? We got 30 seconds.
Well, the same thing I always say. Tell your friends. If you like us, Fitzgerald, dude, you too. I mean, tell your friends. Send them the links on Facebook, Twitter, whatever, and help us build our loyal listener base.
Perfect.
This show is produced by IJReview.com.
This show is copyright by VLR Media. All opinions of panelists and guests are their own and may not reflect the opinion of VLR Media, the host,